In this video, we'll be covering how to add jobs in Knowify and create contracts for them, and covering the different types of contracts that are offered inside Knowify. To start, add a new job by clicking Add New at the top of the screen and selecting Contract Job. First, you'll be prompted to enter in the name of the job. You can write in anything, such as a description of the type of work that will be done on this job, and if you've named a previous job ending in a number, Knowify will automatically suggest the next number in incrementation. Next, you'll select a client. The client list will automatically be synced up with QuickBooks in both directions, so any clients in QuickBooks automatically pull into Knowify, but if you add a new client at this point in time, it'll sync to your QuickBooks account as well. We'll select one from the existing list, and you'll see that you're prompted to add one of 4 different types of contract. In a fixed price contract, you'll be able to quote a total price either broken out into line items or as one large lump sum and invoice it in increments up until the total value has been billed. Similarly, if you choose fixed price with AIA-style billing, you'll also be able to quote a total price broken down into line items, but the progress invoicing will come out in the AIA-style's G702 and G703 format. In a cost-plus contract, you'll be able to set up time and material deliverables or other custom types of billing. And in a maintenance contract, you'll be able to set up and schedule recurring appointments for each client that'll be managed through the Service Jobs module. We'll start by covering how to set up a standard fixed-price contract. Once you save the job, you'll want to be in the screen that says Create Proposal at the top of the page. From here, you'll be able to enter basic contract information, such as who the contact is at the company that you're sending this to, any PO numbers that they sent and referenced, a contract number that's for your internal use. You can include an estimated start and end date, and set up default payment terms for any invoices that are sent from this contract. Then, to start building the actual contract and value, you can enter in a description of each line item. If you'd like, this is where you can also select which service or product from QuickBooks you'd like this to use when invoicing, and then you can assign the total price you'll be charging the customer for this service. You can add as many line items as you want, with the only requirements being a description of each line as well as a price for that line. If you need to provide more information other than the one line of the description, you can use the box below to enter an extended description with any other details that need to be portrayed to the client. You can also click the Enter Breakdown or Bill of Materials button to create a detailed list of all materials, labor, subcontractors, equipment, and other expenses that will go into the total value of this line item. You start by selecting what type of item you're going to be adding to the list, then enter in the name of the item, and it can search through the catalog. You enter in the quantity, then you can enter in your cost and the amount of markup you'd like applied to the item, and the customer will only see the final marked up price and not your internal cost. Later, you'll have the ability to pull these values into Plan and Track if needed to be used as budgets as well. And if you just want to use this to calculate prices internally and don't want the customer to see them, you can click the button at the top of the list to hide this bill of materials from the final proposal that's generated. Once the base contract values are set, you'll be prompted to select what the tax rate is for this proposal, and it'll automatically be applied to any of the line items that have been marked as taxable. Then, under Additional Options, you can change the output style of the proposal, whether you want to show the individual line item pricing or just the total value of the contract. And you can also choose what type of invoice you want to use, whether it's a regular invoice that just shows the total value of each item, or if you want to show a schedule of values that shows progress through each item as well. And last, you'll enter in any terms and conditions that are associated with this contract so that when the client signs, they're automatically included on the document. When you're comfortable with all of the fields that have been filled in, you can save changes, and you have the ability to preview what the proposal document is going to look like. Knowify can customize these proposal documents, so if you're unhappy with the layout and would like to make changes, you can always email support@knowify.com to make an adjustment. This can also be emailed directly to your client through Knowify. When you click Send Out for Signature, you'll get a preview of the PDF that's generated, and you'll be able to write an email that goes along with this. The client will be able to sign it directly through Knowify, and you'll receive an email when they've approved it. You can also manually make a contract active with the menu button in the top right corner. Once the contract is active, you'll be able to start sending invoices to the client. To start invoicing, click where it says Invoice Now in the top right corner of this job. Since this is a fixed price job, you'll be prompted to enter in a percentage of each line of the contract that you'd like to invoice, and you'll be able to do this until each line has been invoiced for the full value that was agreed upon in the contract that was made active previously. Next, we'll cover how to create a fixed price contract with AIA-style billing. You'll see that the initial contract setup is very similar to the standard fixed price. You will be prompted to enter basic information about the customer and about this specific contract, and you'll still be prompted to create a list of line items and prices to send to the customer for approval right through Knowify. The same process applies when sending this out for signature, and if needed, you can create a separate custom document format for specifically AIA-style invoice jobs. Once this contract is active, in the AIA format, there will be a couple extra fields that need to be filled in before invoicing. You'll be prompted to enter a GC contract number and GC contract date, and if necessary, you'll enter in retainage percentages as well. You can enter in a separate percentage for work completed as well as material stored. Once this is saved, you'll have the ability to start invoicing this contract. If you find that you need to edit the schedule values before invoicing as they don't match what you've quoted in the contract, you can click where it says Edit Schedule Values at the bottom of the list. This will allow you to add, edit, and delete line items, so you can make sure that the line items on the continuation sheet that's generated when invoicing in Knowify matches the schedule values that's been requested by the customer. Once you've made all of the changes to the schedule values, you'll be able to confirm that the new schedule values that you've set up will match what was originally sent out in the bid before any edits were made. This way, if there's a discrepancy between the two, it'll be visible at the bottom of the screen. And if you ever need, you can view the original bid at the top of the screen as well, just to confirm what was originally quoted. Then, when you're ready to start invoicing, you can click the same button at the top right corner of the screen. In an AIA-style invoice, you'll be prompted to select the last date of the billing period, and you'll be prompted to enter the amount of completed work and stored materials on each line that's in the schedule values. And just like with the standard fixed price, you'll be able to create invoices until each line is 100% billed. Next, we'll cover how to create a cost plus contract. Cost plus contracts will allow you to create terms of the contract that aren't limited to fixed price items. A lot of the beginning of the contract will be the same, asking for basic contact information from the customer and other information. But you'll have the option of whether or not you want to quote a total price to the client or just quote how you're going to be billing them. To start, we'll choose not to quote a total price to the client. You can enter in a description of what type of work is being performed here, and then instead of adding line items like we did in fixed price contracts, you'll be able to add what Knowify calls deliverables. Each deliverable can have different types of billing associated with it. We'll start with time and materials, which is the most commonly used option in cost plus contracts. You'll enter in a name of the deliverable that you're offering to do for the customer, and you can write in a description of what this deliverable includes as well. Then, you'll define what your hourly rate you're charging the customer is for all employee time tracked to this deliverable. You can choose a universal rate so all employee time is billed at the same rate, or you can vary what the rate is based off of which worker is going to be on the job. The final option is to choose a rate based off of the different roles in Knowify. This way, instead of defining by each individual employee, you can define the rate based off of what their role is labeled as in Knowify. So in this case, we would bill $80 an hour for every tradesman hour, but $100 an hour for all foreman time. Then, if you're going to be billing the customer for all of the materials purchased, you can set up a markup, and then everything that's added as cost to the job will automatically be added as a deliverable to be invoiced to the customer with the markup automatically applied on top of it. The biggest difference between time and materials deliverables as opposed to fixed price items is that you won't be able to create any invoices until cost is incurred against this deliverable on the job. However, you do still have the ability to add fixed price items when creating a cost plus contract. Selecting fixed as the type of deliverable will prompt you to enter in a description just like earlier, and then you'll be prompted to include how much you're going to charge the customer for this specific deliverable and whether you bill it on signing, when it's been marked as complete, or as a percentage of completion like a fixed price job. Cost plus contracts also allow you to generate a recurring fixed price item. These types of deliverables are useful for creating retainers and other recurring charges that are part of the contract signed with the customer. Once given a description, you can put in how much you'll be charging and how often the charge needs to be sent on an invoice. In this example, we'll choose bi-weekly, and every other week, Knowify will automatically create a billable item to send to the customer for this value. The last option is a variable deliverable. This allows you to set up any type of deliverable that's going to be billed in a custom unit defined when invoicing. So if we're going to be billing painting per square foot, we can choose what the rate is that we bill per each of these square feet, and also define how often we send these invoices. Now, every other week, I can define how many square feet we've painted, and it'll automatically show up on the invoice. These contracts will look a little bit different from the ones we saw earlier, because instead of showing final pricing, it'll just show the rate that you're going to be charging for each of the deliverables on the contract. These contracts, like the others, can be customized and sent out for digital e-signature directly through Knowify. And once it's made active, it'll automatically generate a phase of the job for us to track the cost to for each deliverable in the contract. This way, Knowify can automatically create billable items to invoice the customer for based off of which phase the costs are allocated to and what the corresponding deliverable is. So in this case, if we're to add a material allocation for $1,000, it'll automatically create an item that we can bill the customer with markup included, and in the summary page, we can see the total value that the customer owes us to date when including all deliverables that we agreed upon when creating the contract. And then, when we're ready to invoice these deliverables, we can go back to the contract and choose Invoice Now, and the time frame we want to invoice, and the deliverables will automatically load into the invoice, and any of the recurring items, like the variable and the recurring fixed, will be on the left-hand side of the screen so they can be added to this invoice as needed. Next, we'll cover how to create a cost-plus contract where we choose to quote the total price to the customer. The setup will be very similar, only you'll no longer have the ability to create recurring fixed deliverables. And when you generate a time and materials deliverable, you'll be prompted to put in an estimated number of each labor and material item that you expect to spend when working through the project. So instead of just having an hourly rate, you'll also include how many hours you expect to spend, and it'll generate a subtotal by multiplying the two. Similarly, when creating a markup, you'll also be able to enter in a list of different materials that you'll need to buy, and with your unit price and quantity, it gives the customer more information about how much they'll end up spending at the end of this project. These items won't actually generate any cost or create billables automatically, they're just a way to demonstrate to the customer how much they should expect to spend, and then they'll actually be invoiced for what is actually spent through the life of the job. You'll see that the preview is a little bit different, and it shows the estimated final value of each deliverable instead of just showing how it'll be billed once the job is live. And there will be an automatically added description of each phase that tells more information about how this will be billed. Then once it's active, the process of adding cost and invoicing the customer will be just like the standard cost plus. The last contract type we'll cover is maintenance contracts. Maintenance contracts allow you to create, manage, and schedule recurring appointments with customers and all of the corresponding billing associated with them. You'll want to enter the start and end date of the contract, and then you'll define what service you're providing. In this case, we'll just write recurring maintenance. Then you can enter a description of what you're performing with each service, and then you can define how frequently you perform this service so Knowify knows when it's time to remind you to schedule the next appointment, how often you bill the customer, whether it's per each visit or in monthly, quarterly, semi-annually, or yearly periods, and how much you charge on each of these invoices that are associated with the contract, whether they're per visit or in the recurring timeframe agreed upon. Once the contract is made active, you'll be prompted to confirm the billing frequency and service frequency, and it'll automatically create an unscheduled service so you can start scheduling and managing this contract moving forward. What's different about maintenance contracts is they're mainly managed from this point through service jobs. In here, we can see that we have an unscheduled pending ticket for this job. We can click Edit to schedule it. This gives us the ability to see who's available on the day that we need to have this appointment. We'll schedule it for today, and then pick who from our team is available to work on this appointment. This will establish when the date of the appointment is, so when submitting, Knowify will prompt when you want the reminder to schedule the next appointment based on the previously set service frequency. Since we set bi-weekly, the reminder date is scheduled for 2 dates from the scheduled appointment date. So if we were to look at the schedule on other days prior to the reminder, you'll see that the job doesn't show up, but then moving the service job date to the date of the reminder, you'll see a new unscheduled pending ticket for the next appointment that we need to have with this client under this contract. And when we're ready to invoice the client for the different services in this contract, we can go back to the original service, click this to mark it as complete, and once it's complete, you'll be prompted to invoice for this job. You'll see that the invoice automatically pulls in the agreed upon value per invoice when setting up the contract, and this can be finalized and sent to the client.